Hey, JP.
Hello, sir. How you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
Good, thank you.
Good.
Sam, you didn't really ever take notes.
Hey, Andy. How are you?
Hello.
Hello, everybody. This is Terry and Andy. We're here to help you with your flows, flow office hours. This is our actually our number 2, second time we've done this. And it seems like it was forever ago since the first one, Andy.
Yeah.
I was, when we first started talking about this, you mentioned something about doing it every other week or something. I was saying, man, that's awfully fast. and now I'm sitting here thinking, man, is it time for this again? And yes, it is. It is now here. So
Time passes quick.
yes, it does. Let me share a screen real quick, and then we can kind of jump in and get started. Maybe. There we go. Good. Let me go back to the big. Wow, that stopped sharing, didn't it? Hold on. Having some technical challenges. Let's try that again. All right, you should hopefully see the presentation. Anyway, for those of you who don't know Andy and I, there's our faces. You also see us on the camera there. Andy is fantastic, super good guy. Salesforce Break is where you will see his information, or check him out on Twitter. He's probably one of the most active Twitter people I think I know. If you tweet him, you'll probably get an answer. And then Terry's Tidbits is where you'll find me as well. If you have a flow question that you'd like us to help you with, that's why we're here. Just raise your hand, click on the little emoji that's down there on your control panel for the Zoom meeting, and you'll be able to, we'll call on you and let you share your question. You're welcome to share your screen, use a sandbox if you do, or at least have de-identified information so that we don't inadvertently get any confidential information out there. We don't want to get in trouble, and we don't want you to get in trouble. So please be careful with that. We've got a handful of people on today. So there's 11 of you right now. And it looks like I've got perhaps one more streaming on YouTube. So if you have questions, please kind of think of your question in advance and be ready to ask it real clearly so we can make sure everybody has a chance to participate. You are being recorded and you're being live streamed right now. So you are giving us consent to do that just by participating. If you do not want that, please go ahead and disconnect. You can watch on the live stream on YouTube, Terry's Tidbits, and it'll be there as well. If you are a flow expert and you're on the call, or even if you have an answer to a flow question, you are more than welcome to jump in and help answer those questions. Andy and I are here to help facilitate and do our best, but if you've got better thoughts and suggestions, we certainly welcome that as well. And with that, if you are live streaming and you do want to participate in the actual live meeting, you can go to Flow Office Hours and register there, and that'll get you a meeting link to join us live. So Andy, is there anything there I missed?
No, that's all. I'm just going to say I appreciate Terry and his time and putting this together, and I enjoy every meeting and the live session that I do with him. And I appreciate you all for coming here. This gives us an opportunity, because all those Slack and some other channels are pretty good trying to resolve some of the issues. It's just not sufficient. Sometimes you just got to look at it. You know, you just got to say like, okay, we need to double click on that thing and see what's inside. And I did have a couple of people I referred here. I think Claire has a big folder prepared for me today.
All right, very good.
look at her.
I think she's ready to go. So, Claire, if you want to go ahead and kick us off, you can unmute, share your screen, whatever you need to do.
Yeah, maybe actually I can have a couple minutes. I'm trying to get my sandbox
Okay.
set up appropriately.
No worries. If anyone else is ready with a question, feel free to raise a hand or just unmute and go ahead and share with us. Otherwise,
just-
Andy and I will just ramble on for a while.
JP, I was just reading a tweet from Andy about flows where people are having some issues when there's an error, how to streamline and then check to see what the error is when the flow doesn't work. And
Okay.
I found that very, very cool because that's a reality for people who are new and then trying to using flows, and then when you launch it and it doesn't work, sometimes you have a hard time to find exactly what's causing that issue.
Yeah. Let me just open an instance in the meantime so that I can show a couple of things maybe.
Andy's got some great flow stuff out there, so he's certainly a resource worth following.
Yeah, I mean, I need to record something as well on debugging flows, but it's more of an art than it's a science. So I've been dragging my feet. It's not that easy to streamline that information to kind of like package it and then show other people how to do it. It's not that easy, but we can definitely talk about a couple of things.
Andy's getting that ready. Also, if you just have a simple question and you want to throw it in the chat, you're welcome to do that as well. For those on YouTube, I am watching the chat there as well, so feel free to chat questions over, and we'll do our best to try to answer those as well. So.
Okay, so here, do you see my org here?
It's coming. Yep, there you go.
Okay, so now a couple of important pointers in general. What's a good strategy? How do you find what's breaking and things like that, right? So let's see something and let's find something and break it. So when I started Salesforce break was supposed to mean, okay, you can, it's so easy, you can learn flows in your break kind of thing, like within 10 minutes. So I realized that that's not that feasible. So my videos got longer and longer. So now I say I actually do videos to break things and fix them. So, you know, I'm kind of changing my concept a little bit. So let me try to find something to break. And I think we had a screen flow here somewhere that we can probably break. Let me see if this one has a loop in it. No, this is a straightforward one. There's a
I want to say sometimes it's getting harder to break things because Salesforce is getting smarter with what they let us put in the flows. We can't break it quite as easy as we used to be able to.
okay. Well, I didn't really find what I wanted, but anyway, so
I wonder if I've been working on a flow for one of my customers, and I've been doing a pretty good job of breaking things today.
Yeah. So let's do this. Let's go into debug here. So this one expects a record ID, right? So it's going to ask me what record ID I want to work on. So I'm going to give that a record ID of 1. And so it didn't get it, but that didn't really cause an issue. So you're right. I mean, sometimes hard to break things as well.
It is, yeah.
So let's do another one here. Okay.
Oh, there you go. You can do that and give it a value. Hopefully that.
Okay, so
Expecting.
this is a pick list, right? You know, this is a pick list. Let's give it a value that is not valid, right? And let's this one, let's save this one as a new version. And activate it. And what is this? It's running on the lead, when lead sources partner referral, okay? So, and it runs on creator update. Okay, so when we go to the details here, this one is actually partner referral already. Let's change this one to web. That's not going to break it. Then let's change this one back to partner referral. That still didn't break it because the pick list value here actually accepts.
Accepted to the one.
Yeah, it's not constrained. So let's do it this way. Use the IDs and use the IDs and records, specify conditions, and let's try and update the lead with the ID.
Yeah,
ID one. So you are right. It's hard to break these things.
it's getting harder. Yes.
They make them sturdy now. And the rating.
It doesn't mean it doesn't happen. I think that the error that I was getting earlier today is I had a field that the user didn't have visibility to. And so when it queried it, they got a error saying, hey, this field doesn't exist.
Exactly. And that's a very common one. I was going to
Yeah.
mention that one. Thanks for mentioning. We'll go back to that. So let's do this again. Okay, so we got an error message, right? So this error message, what does this say? We can't save this record because an unhandled fault occurred. Please contact your system administrator for more information. Error ID this and error ID that. It's not very helpful, is it? Right? So what you're gonna do in this case is there are two things you can do. First of all, somebody received an error email, right? That's for sure. And the way you can find who received the error email is you would go to your setup. Let me just go to, I have setup open here now. I'll just go to setup here. And you need to go to your process automation settings to see who is receiving those email messages, if you don't know already. And if you go here, you are going to see that it can be either the person who created, right here, right? It's either the person who last modified the process flow or the Apex exception email recipients. And Apex exception email recipients is set up somewhere else. You know, you could just reuse. So if you are in the org and you don't really want to look at your emails, you can actually go to your failed and paused flow interviews, paused and failed. So this is going to show you a pick list value. It could be paused or failed. If you go to failed, you are going to see the interview that failed, and then with a link. Once you click on this one, it's going to take you to the flow interview that failed. And you can see visually here very clearly, highlighted in yellow, the route that your flow took. Now, this is a very simple linear flow, but yours could be like a huge one. And it's going to show you all the path that your flow took, all the decision outcomes and branches, and then where it landed and then where it failed. So it's going to tell you. Now, there are a couple of things that's important here. One is where did it fail and what happened before, right before, and the outcome branches it took. And it's going to tell you also that this error occurred when the flow tried to update records. Select ID from lead where ID equals 1. And you can actually see that I tried to set the ID equals 1 condition in my update element. And we know ID cannot be 1. So it's pretty clear. So we need to fix that. That's how you find out. And you can, if this is very long, it's going to show all the steps that the flow took before. You can expand it and then see what happened before. Now, what you want to be looking for is what are the variable values. You're going to see in most cases what the variable values are. What are the record IDs? You can see all the stuff here. And you can copy the record ID. You can go back to your org, open up the lead that's in question, and make sure that it's the lead that you want to be working on. It satisfies the conditions and everything. Now, one thing I would say is, now I don't want to open up email and do all that, but when you are on email, you have the email log, right? Email, long email, fault email. And on top of the email, you are going to see a message showing you, okay, this is the problem with your flow. Check that, obviously. And if that tells you what the problem is, that's fine. If it doesn't show you very clearly, in any case, scroll all the way down and look at that bottom portion where it failed. Because sometimes that message I find is a little bit more detailed than the top message. Do you find the same, Terry, or is that?
Yep, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all good.
Yeah, it's easy to get fooled because you think, okay, this is the whole message, but sometimes there is more information down at the bottom. And what else is very important, another good reason why you would go down there is you want to see actually what happened right before. Usually, a lot of times it's not that step, it's the previous step, because like you didn't get a record, you try to do something with that record. And that's a very common problem. If you want to try to operate on a null record, you're going to get in there. Right?
Yeah.
And if you get error messages that are not actionable and they are not comprehensible, that does happen. There is an error message called GAC, in fact, in Salesforce world, which is pretty much like a splurb of digits and sequences or something like that. It's made for programmers. Only Salesforce themselves can understand it if they can understand it. If you get that, you need to retrace your steps. You can delete elements, and then you can go back in the previous version. You are out of luck. But if you get something that does not look like the problem itself, but something else is happening, my advice to you, and that's something Terry just commented on, it could be quite common the field security settings. That does happen quite a bit. As you are developing things in here, you start adding fields, and the fields sometimes don't get added to profiles. The things about field level security, the interesting thing about field level security is the fact that it overrides everything else. It's one security setting which can restrict everything. On top of every other setting, it can actually restrict the security for that field. Usually you open up, right? You have organization-wide settings for this object, it's private, and then you start sharing and opening up. But with the field level, if that profile doesn't have access to that field to see, to update, it's going to break everything. And that error is not very explanatory. When you have that problem, it's not going to tell you, okay, this is happening because this user does not have access to that field.
Yeah, it's going to look like the field doesn't exist instead. So we've got a couple questions in the chat, Andy.
All right, so I'll stop here for this one.
So Caitlin, you had a question that it sounds like you've got a need to update the account record from a contact that you're getting some information in from HubSpot. You also needed to create a task there as well. Mm-hmm. And your question was, if I'm understanding correctly, is that do you need to use a before trigger or an after trigger?
Exactly. So okay. I'm always sometimes confused, about the before and after trigger.
Yeah.
So HubSpot pushes into Salesforce information to the contact object, such
Okay.
as like, when somebody lands on our website. So if somebody books a form, fills out the form and books a demo, it changes the source code on the contact. That in return, I have to create a task for the sales rep to reach out to the person. Hey, somebody wants to book a demo. So the task needs to be created. And on the other hand, the account needs to be updated because the account is the customer. And therefore that information, like the day that the form was filled out, that date needs to also be updated on the account. And so we have 3 different things that are
Okay.
going on
So
here.
let me ask you a question. What object do you believe that your flow needs to initiate from?
That's a good question. I think it's the contact because it
Okay.
is the
Right.
contact that is being updated
Good. Good.
originally.
Good.
So in order to update the account, I think I could do potentially a before save.
So there's kind of a general rule that you use on knowing whether it's a before or after, and Salesforce made this a little bit easier too in the new verbiage that they have, where I think they call it a fast save versus I forget what the after name is, but the way that I always remember it is if you're updating the record that triggered your flow, in your case, it would be the contact. So if you're updating that contact record, you would do it in the fast update or the before. Anything else, anything, doesn't matter what it is, anything else is going to be in your after.
Got you. Okay. That makes sense. So
yeah. So you'll create
fast field updates, right? It's called fast field updates.
Fast field updates.
Actually, a better definition is the same record updates. If you are updating the record that triggered the flow, that's the only way you can work with before save, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So you'll be in an after. You'll be able to create your task. You'll be able to update your account, all from the after.
Awesome. And can I reference the when I do a before save on the contact? Can I reference the field history? Because that specific field, the lead source, is captured in the history tracking. Can I use that?
No.
To like, no.
No. Is the issue that you're just trying to see what it was before it was triggered? So a before.
Well, I kind of need to know the date it was changed. And in order to know the date, when you look at the record, to know the date that it was updated is the field history.
So the date that it was updated is the same date that the trigger ran. So it's
exactly
if the trigger is running right now, it's today. And there's a in your in Flow, there's a $flow current date field.
That's right.
$flow current date.
And you do have access to prior values.
Yeah, prior values are also an option.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
So look, if you want to know whether, if it's an update, and if you want to know whether this records, for example, if we're talking about an opportunity, if the record's close date before it was updated was a certain date, you can check for that with the prior record prior value.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Absolutely. Claire, are you ready? Go ahead.
I am. Yes. Thank you guys for waiting. Okay. So the context around this. So we needed to create a flow that took opportunity roles and assigned those roles from those contacts to the account contact relationship once the opportunity closed. So the goal was to take, for the same contacts, the role that they were assigned from the opportunity and add that to their account contact relationship record when the opportunity closed. So I'm having a couple of struggles with this. So let me just share my screen. Okay. So my flow does have a loop in it, but I'll just show you kind of what's one of the things that's happening. So I have an account here. We have two related contacts. One is the billing contact. The other is a survey responder contact role. Now, if I go to this opportunity, this individual should also have the decision-making contact role. And you can see in the opportunity contact roles that they do have that decision maker role. So when I close the opportunity and then go back to my account, so we would expect now for this individual to have both the survey responder and also decision maker. But one of the issues I'm having is that that role essentially like replaces rather than adds to the like multi-pick list. So that's one of the issues that I was having. And then I was also getting an error that I can't replicate in Sandbox. So maybe we can just start with this one.
Okay, and Andy had to drop off. I think he got called away on a probably a work thing. So,
Sure.
So a couple of things I guess come to mind with this is, and you tell me if I'm on the right track with what you just said. I want to try to repeat it, see if I got it. So the opportunity contact roles that you have set up, you need to replicate those over on close one to the actual accounts related contacts. And if that related contact is already there, you need to update the roles so that it correctly reflects and what the opportunity showed.
Exactly.
And being careful not to overwrite an existing role if that's already there.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. The latter part's the harder of the two.
Yeah.
Process.
Yeah.
So let's talk through it step by step. If you want to, can we look at your flow?
Sure.
All right. Yeah. So you've got your loop following and it looks like then a decision. So you're getting your opportunity contact roles and you're looping through each of those, it looks like. And then is it the decision? Is that where it's headed inside the loop?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just gonna move it to auto.
Perfect.
This is a little easier for me to see. Yeah.
I prefer this as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, this decision essentially looks to see if there is an account contact role that already has that contact ID. If it does, it grabs the opportunity contact role details and then assigns that to a record variable so that it can create it. If it does already have a corresponding account contact relationship, same thing, it grabs the roles and then updates the variable that's like the update variable. And then there's a decision later on to decide if it creates new or if it is just updating an existing.
Okay, and this is I'm assuming it's a record after.
Yes.
Trigger flow. Okay.
Yep. Related record. Yep.
All right. So let's go back up to the top. There's one thing right off the bat that I want to make sure we understand, and that's that we never want to put a pink item inside of a loop. So our get account contact roles, one thing we'd absolutely want to do is make sure that we get that out of the loop. And so I would look at how can we query that information before we get into the loop. And with this being a record trigger flow, you're always going to process a single record at a time through it. Even if you're loading mass data, it's still going to process through it one record at a time. It self-bulkifies to a certain degree. So I would definitely move that get ACR up prior to your loop. Yep. Very good. And that will change your ID. So you're gonna have you'll have to do a little bit of adjustments there before you can delete that. But that's where you're gonna want it. So always remember no pink inside loops. That can get you into some significant problems from a bulkification standpoint. All right. So with that one out of the way, then you're looping then through the OCR, okay, and it's coming for each, then you've got your decision. And that decision is simply, is it a part of the current ACR? Okay.
Mhm.
And with that, are you also looking to see if it's has the correct role inside that ACR, or is it just looking to see? It looks like it's just looking to see that it exists.
Yeah.
Okay. Trying to think out loud here as I process through it. But okay, I've got it. If it's assigned or not assigned, and then I assume there you're just kind of capturing the fact that, hey, we need to do something with this one.
Mhm.
So your assignment, let's look at the assignment again. So that's ACR record role equals the one in your loop, which is coming from the opportunity contact, the contact ID, and the account ID. Okay, so that's in essence, you're not physically creating it yet, but you're setting up the variable to create your account contact.
Yep.
All right, and is the next one then adding it to a collection?
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that, perfect. Okay. And I suspect in that scenario, and tell me if I'm right or wrong here, but I'm going to guess that in that scenario, if it's not assigned, you're probably safe on that side because you're creating a brand new account contact, no issue at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, I haven't
Right.
had any errors. I think it's when
Going
there
down that
is
branch.
already an account contact that it gets
Yeah.
dicey.
And is that the other half of this branch then? The
Yes.
assigned part? Okay, let's
Yep.
take a look at what you got there. So we've got, okay, so you know what I think I would suggest here. Let's close out of this one. And on that branch right before, at the very first one, since we've already got all of our account contact roles in a collection, we could filter that collection down to where we can get to the record that we've queried. So let's click on that plus sign and let's do a collection filter. And go ahead and give it a label that will be familiar to you. Collection of ACRs, filter, or filter for ACRs, however you want to word that. And your collection is going to be that ACR collection. Is that what it is? Okay.
Yep.
All right. And here, what you're going to filter on it, I would filter it down to the contact ID, the account ID, and the role that you're expecting to find. I think that's what I want to do. I may change my mind later.
Okay.
What this is going to do for you is tell you whether or not that specific record already exists there. In fact, it might, again, kind of thinking out loud here on the fly, it almost might make sense to do this instead of your decision that you have ahead of time. Because
yeah, I think when I implemented this, spring 22 hadn't come out yet, so we didn't have the filter collection.
I know, I love the
element
filter.
yet.
It's
Yeah.
awesome. But this could be the easiest way for you to identify what you're going to have to do, because you could filter it off of the contact and the account. That would tell you that you've already got a record that exists. Then you could also do a filter where it's all three of them, where you have, well, it doesn't, yeah, where you have the contact, the account, and the role. Then you don't need to do anything because it already exists completely. You
Yep.
can just kind of skip out. If the contact and the account exists but not the role, then you've got to add the role to the existing record.
Mm-hmm.
And then if the contact and account, or if the contact doesn't exist at all, then you're creating a brand new one. Yeah, that might be the easiest approach to this. Are you familiar with how to set up this piece of it, this screen?
Do you mean
It looks like you're
the
doing a good
filter?
job. Yeah.
Thank you. I think so.
So I think the trick is just you'll probably, and again, I'm kind of thinking out loud, envisioning what it might look like, but you wouldn't need a loop then at all.
Okay.
You're going, I don't think, well, no, you do. You still will need the loop because you have to go through each of your opportunity contact roles.
Yeah.
But within that, you would have your first filter is, can you find a hit on all three of the values, account, contact, role? If you do, sweet, you don't have to do anything. That's the happy path. The next one would be, can you get a hit on contact and account? If so, then you know you'd have to create a role. And if you don't get a hit on any of it, then you're creating the whole thing. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Maybe I can stop sharing and play around with this for a second,
Okay.
and then
Yep.
come back to me if I have any issues.
Yeah,
or
very good.
questions.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. JP, I see your question there as well. How can you track an error when a flow was supposed to fire an email and the email never fired and you did not get any error on the flow? I would probably start by debugging your flow. And within the flow, click the debug screen, plug in whatever your variables are that can simulate that issue. Is this your screen, JP? Go ahead and unmute if it is.
Yes, it is. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
all right, cool. So if you debug this and you pass in a sample record, go grab a record out of your account, pass it in, it's going to go down. It'll show you which path it went down. It very well could be that if you're in your sandbox environment, it's not going to send an email just because your deliverability is turned off. So it could be that it's working and you just don't know it.
I checked that, and I think it's on. It's turned on.
You do have it on. Okay,
Yeah, that's the first thing that I checked.
good choice. Yep,
Right
all
there.
emails. All right, cool. So it's not that. So it's just a record trigger flow off of an opportunity.
Yes, it's an opportunity.
Okay. Click on your start element for me.
Right there. Oh, you come out the.
No, I actually wanted that start. If you,
Right there.
yeah, there you
Okay.
go. Let's check the condition that you have on there. So let's edit that. This is only going to work right now on a record creation. So if it's a record update, this would not run based off of how the trigger the flow when, that configuration. So that could be one of the reasons. Let's see. And then your condition is the stage name equals prospecting.
Yeah.
So the opportunity is closed, and it's so if the opportunity needs to be closed, I would check. let's see, let's go back into the start real quick for me, sorry. And so you're doing this as an after. So scroll, it looks like. Is it possible that you're editing an existing record?
Yeah, because what happened, I did check, hold on, let me look at this version right there, because I think I was on the wrong version, because I
Okay.
did that.
Okay,
Yeah,
you already
this is supposed-
identified that. Okay.
Yeah, I already fixed that, so that should be the correct one. So it's
Okay.
when the opportunity is creating on the prospecting stage.
Okay. What happens if
Then-
if I jump that stage and go to go to like a negotiation stage or a stage that's later in the process?
No, there shouldn't be any email file. The
Shouldn't
email
be
should
an
be
email.
filed
Okay.
when the opportunity is created.
Okay, sweet.
And if it's over $100,000,
Yep.
and that's what I have here. Hold on, let me add the element here.
Okay, that's just using a regular email alert
The ID,
and the
yes.
record ID. Okay.
Mhm.
So let's do this. Let's debug it. So if you go ahead and hit the debug, and you have the opportunity there to select an opportunity. So do you have an opportunity that meets the condition?
Yeah, opportunity to, let me check that right there. Let me change the stage again.
Let's close one.
Yeah, that's the.
Okay. Okay, so let's go back into your start element because it didn't meet the condition that we have selected there. So go ahead and do when the record is created and updated. I know you already corrected it in a different version, but let's do that. And then what I want you to look at is when to run the flow for updated records. It's the radio boxes down toward the bottom of your screen right there. And you've got two options. One is every time the record is updated and it meets the criteria. So that in our use case, that's probably the one that you're going to want, maybe. But you also have only when the record is updated to meet that condition. So what that second one means is that, let's say let's go back to your opportunity. I want to see your stages again. Okay, prospecting is your very first stage. So let's say you're on the qualification stage, and this is going to be totally wrong, but kind of try to follow along, I guess, a bit. But let's say we're on the qualification stage and we move it back to prospecting. And that means that this is the first time that we're saving it as a prospecting record. The second radio button in that we were looking at, when it first triggers, that's what that would mean. It means that condition has to have just become true. Now the advantage of that version is that if I save a record into prospecting, everything works, everything runs through just like it's supposed to. But then a few minutes later, I go back and I update, say, the close date, or I update the amount on that opportunity. Well, if I'm still sitting in that prospecting stage, this email is going to continue to go if my condition there is every time the record is updated and meets that criteria.
Okay.
So you probably, I'm going to guess, you don't want that to happen. You don't want that email to go out every time somebody saves the record while it's sitting.
Only when it's first created, or only when it first meet the criteria.
Yep. All right, so let's do the second one. Let's click done. And let's go ahead and do the debug window again. Or yeah, let's save it, sorry.
Wow.
Good call. And then debug. And I want you to change where it says run this flow as, change it to an update. It's the radio buttons where you see created and updated. Now, when you clicked on that, you'll notice that it gives you a opportunity record down at the bottom half of
Oh,
your
so I
screen.
can do that right from here.
You can simulate it. Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
So what I want you to do is find the stage, wherever that's going to be.
Yeah, it's gonna be prospecting.
There it is. Yeah,
Let me do something. I'm gonna put 95,000 for now, and I will change that again.
yeah, right. What you're going to need to change is you're going to want your opportunity to be in some other stage than prospecting.
Okay.
And then we're going to change it back. And JP, you're going to want to likely do this back on the original opportunity record, so not inside the flow, because
Okay.
when you're debugging the flow, by default it's going to roll everything back after you're done debugging it. So yeah, let's fix it here, and then we can mess with this a little bit better inside of our flow. All right, and you're probably you may have to, yeah, refresh here, and let's try it again. Yeah, I think you'll be okay. Let's go ahead and debug. And you want it updated, and let's select your opportunity. Hopefully the screen opens up. Change your stage now.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you've got to have the amount higher too, don't you? Yep. And stage, I think it was down there. It is, qualification. Change that back to prospecting and hit run. And hopefully there we have our path, and your email should have gone out. Crossing our fingers that it doesn't make us a liar.
No, it did not. Let me see. Oops. Yeah, that's the same email that I have here.
Yeah.
It didn't get 5.
It is going down the right path. So that's a good sign. There may be something inside your email alert then that is not quite right, but your flow is good here. The fact that the flow processed down the right trail is 100% good. So
oh, do I need to activate it?
Not in debug mode, you don't.
Okay.
So I would check your email alert that you're using just to validate that everything's kosher on that side.
Okay.
But your flow is good.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely.
All right.
Any other questions? Just click on the reaction down there and raise your hand or unmute. Either way works. We've got about 12 more minutes or so. We've got to give Claire some time to finish things up on her side. Any questions from any of you? Also, feel free to chat if you'd like, if that's easier. I do see a question. Is that the same with any field? Jazz, I'm not sure. I didn't see when you asked that question what we were looking at, but if you're still on the live stream, feel free to clarify your question, and I'll see if I can answer that for you. Anyone else have questions? Anything that you're struggling with the flow that you're working on, or
Hey,
just a general question?
do you have a
Hey,
question, Terry?
Go ahead.
Great. Yeah, sorry, I joined kind of late. Let me share my screen here in my sandbox.
Yep.
So it's kind of a weird one. So it's technically working to a degree, but I'm running into an error, and I couldn't figure out what this was, especially after talking to our developer.
Okay.
So let me just see if I'll replicate the error and then see if you might have some insights.
Sweet. Very good.
So I'll hit debug. So I have my test record, and then the profile that we're testing. So it's specifically this field here.
Okay.
So
To NetSuite. All right.
so it displays only when using a specific, when the user has a specific profile ID,
Okay.
which is the one I inserted. So it is visible here. So I won't do anything. So let's just modify this. Essentially, it's just pulling in account data that we're cloning, giving them the opportunity to modify before committing to create a new one. So it's left blank. I'll hit save and it allows me to commit. So that works fine.
All right.
And then I'll debug again. So I'll just use, let's see, the same record. Let me, sorry, here, let's grab a different.
That's excellent, JP. I see your comment. So it did work for you. Fantastic.
So a different user profile.
Okay.
I'll hit run. So now that NetSuite
Yeah.
is gone. So it's just not displayed.
Yeah.
It is set to a default value of null. And then I'll hit
Is it
save.
null or is it false?
I
The
use
checkbox
the
then.
flow. Yeah, so it just
Okay.
shows the error here.
Okay.
So then I just get this value or this message, I guess. I'll zoom in
All
here.
right. Invalid on-field record sync to NetSuite value is not a required type. Can you? Okay. So scroll up there just a little bit on the debug window. And let's see that NetSuite value. Is it listed in your create record?
Here.
Right there, null. Okay. I'm gonna take a stab. Let's try, and I don't know for sure.
So,
Let's go to the default value for that field. And okay, you do have it checked as false. Okay.
yeah.
All right, good. I was thinking, I don't know that you could set that to null as a checkbox. But it's also not, because it's coming from the screen, is where that default's getting set. So what is likely happening here is that it's not getting set, that false is not getting set at all. So it's not even getting defined, because that element isn't on that user's screen. So the fact that it's got a default value here defined within the screen, my gut tells me it's not getting set. So here's what I would suggest we do.
Okay.
Let's cancel and let's create a new resource. And let's do this as a type. Let's do type variable. And go ahead and give it a, let's just call it like maybe NetSuite default or something.
Okay.
You can fix your naming convention later.
Yeah, no worries.
And then data type is going to be a Boolean. And we're going to set the default value here to false. All right, and then done. I'm going to hope this works. Let's go back into your screen. And let's see if we can set the default value here to that new resource we created. There we go. Cool. And done. And then let's look at our assignment, or wherever is it in the assignment that we
let's see. Yeah, let's see if we need to modify it. So the issue is the users don't directly have edit rights to that field, but it seems like using another Boolean resource, we're able to bypass the field. What's it called?
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is the field variable on the screen? Is it the sync to NetSuite?
Correct. Yeah. So this is the one we created to receive the screen component value.
Okay, cool. Let's try it just to see now if it runs. It may not. we may have to do a little bit more work here, but I'm just curious if we've
Okay.
done enough already.
So I'll save.
I'm gonna guess we haven't because of that assignment variable. I'm gonna guess it hasn't ran.
All right, so it is hidden.
Good. And
Lot of-
let's click save. Okay, and now let's see what did it do. Sync. No. Okay, it's still null. So yeah, let's I kind of thought that might be the case, but let's go back to, I want to see that assignment one again and the variable that we're using, the sync to NetSuite. All right, go ahead and cancel there.
Mhm.
And go into the screen for me, the clone, and click on that button there again.
Mhm.
Okay, that's okay. Sync to NetSuite. All right, cancel. On the here's another. Let's try something a little bit maybe different here.
Okay.
Let's go back into that into the formula that we created earlier with, or the variable. No, actually, we created it as a variable, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay, so here, let's do it this way. Let's create a new resource.
Mhm.
Sorry, I'm troubleshooting here along
No
with you.
worries.
So let's do a formula and give it yeah, this is what this formula is going to be, is what we actually set the assignment from. This is going to be an if then type formula.
Gotcha.
That's going to simply say if that sync to NetSuite is null, set it to false, otherwise true, else true. So use your formula, your insert resource there, and let's grab that screen component. All right, and then right in front of it, put the word if and then an open paren. And right afterwards, or do a comma. Actually, no, we don't want the comma yet. Well, let's say is null or equals. Shoot, how do we do that? I think it's going to be equals quote quote. I hope.
Okay.
and then comma, and then the word false, comma true, close paren, and done. And then in our assignment, let's use that as the value that we set to. So it'll be the value side.
Okay.
Let's close that now and grab our new formula. What I'm not positive of is if that if on our formula if we need to use an is null there, but we can try it out. If it isn't quite right, what's it say there? Expected a Boolean received text. Oh, probably because of our.
So I created it as a Boolean. If you want, I can just
Yeah,
remake it as a text.
Nope, a Boolean is what we would want it to be, because that's what you're saving it. It's a checkbox that you're saving to, correct?
Correct.
So if NetSuite, so I'm trying to remember what the syntax is. I think it's is null for the formula field. Let me look real quick. And if anybody online knows the answer to that, just throw it in the chat window or unmute. I believe that is going to be that. Go ahead. Let's go ahead and try that.
See if that works. No.
Did it still yell at us?
Yeah. I know we're
Okay.
cutting close to time, so I understand the concept you're going after. So if you want,
Okay.
I could probably just give that a stab, and I can always, I don't know, probably reach out to you on Twitter or something.
Yep, yep,
Um,
absolutely. I think
so
that,
yeah,
yeah, that's kind of the idea. What basically what's happening is your value is not getting set in the screen because it's not, that element's not ever being displayed. And
got it.
so we either need to define it ahead of time,
Mhm,
which is kind of where we were going initially,
mhm.
with the variable that we created, or you can do it with an if statement in the formula and just modify it in the assignment
Got it.
itself.
Makes sense. Yeah, yeah, I'll definitely try the approach we were coming to here with the formula. So yeah, hopefully that gets my issue resolved. But yeah, thank you.
Awesome, very good.
Kevin and Terry, wouldn't it be also working if you have a default value right on the field level?
Oh, on the
Um,
actual, yeah, is
Yeah.
there an actual field that, well, yeah, that,
Or a validation rule on that? It was something can default thing directly on the field?
I mean, I can check. I just
yeah,
don't
I
know
mean, with
because
it being
go
a
ahead.
checkbox, it already kind of is by default,
It's true, yeah.
false. But yeah, that's a good thought. Good thought. Yeah. Yeah, reach out, Kevin, on Twitter or something, and let us know how that ends up.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you again.
That'd be great.
Mhm.
Yeah, awesome. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to Andy or I. We're always try to help you. We'll always try to help you out as best we can. Otherwise, feel free to join again next month, same time, same channel. And appreciate y'all connecting. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Yep.